What's good, family? Shout out to my doggy, Devil Dog 83 for boosting up your man the YB's coin. Wow. Wow, this fight, was actually a mad one. I gotta give respect to both men. There's no doubt about that. These men really put on a show tonight. And to be quite frank, put heavyweight boxing to shame. In as much as I didn't see one clinch the whole night. Think about Lawrence Hug Coley. Lawrence Hug Coley supposed to be some big ass, I'm a cruiserweight, I'm a hard ass world championship boxer, and didn't do no boxing. All we saw was a sloppy right hand from him, and then hugging. These two men, been boxing 3 months, didn't clinch once. Oops. And we saw 3 knockdowns. Oops. Yeah. Wow. Super impressed. Also, on that note of being impressed, the conditioning. Now, of course, these man, listen, these man must be EPO'd out of their mind. That's the only explanation. Because honestly, initially I thought this fight was 6 2-minute rounds. It turns out it was 6 3-minute rounds. Professional boxers, Tommy Fury, who's been doing this for 20 years apparently, he's doing 4-rounders still. These two men only been doing it 6 months or a year. And they're massive as well. It's, honestly... And I'm not sure what it is. Obviously, they're great. They've proven they're real, true athletes. Because I'm shocked. Think about Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000. I thought this was going to be a worse version of that. Kimbo Slice, when he fought Dada 5000, that was just awful. Both men couldn't hold their hands up. They was just falling on the floor out of gas. So this is... I'm not sure what it is. In fact, the only thing I can think of is, like I said, they must have both been on the phone to Lance Armstrong, yeah, and been EPO'd out of their mind because I can't explain the cardio, not even a bit. They weren't even blowing. That's the thing. They weren't even tired. Not even a bit tired. Think about Fury versus Wilder. Both men knackered after three round. Think of AJ versus whoever. Knackered. AJ gassed after 4 rounds. Well, them man need to ring these dons up and ask them what they've been doing. Because obviously, it must be chemicals. Because it don't make no sense. They're huge. They're another 50% bigger than heavyweight boxers. And honestly, it was a great show. It really was a pure boxing show. It was knockdowns. Eddie Hall scored a knockdown. Thor scored a few knockdowns. Real sharp stuff. But really what it came down to in the end was, I think Eddie Hall suffered for not taking warm-up fights. I think Eddie Hall would have learnt a few things, like, for example, I got to give him a lot of credit. Eddie Hall had the swagger tonight. As far as swagger goes, he had the whole heavyweight Prince Nassim thing going on. He was pretty slick. When you think about the size of the man, AJ ain't that slick, and he's 70-pound lighter. AJ can't put his hand up. You don't see AJ's... obviously, again, Eddie Hall wasn't slipping and sliding, but for a man that size, to have them low hands, and he was moving his... Honestly, that was impressive. Juice or no juice, that swagger, it takes a lot, especially when you're in there with a taller man. It's very difficult to have the confidence to have your hands down and just try and move your head with it. And then compounding that with being that size, where balance is already difficult to achieve. I was really impressed with Eddie Hall, to be quite honest. Now, a lot of people thought he was going to get the KO. I didn't. I bet on this fight to go the distance. But really, there's an argument, to some extent, I got lucky tonight, winning on the fact that this fight went points. This fight didn't go to points the way I thought it would. I thought they were going to run out of gas after half a round, and they were just going to end up falling into each other and hugging. These two men, really, it could have been a stoppage, to be honest. Thor could have probably stopped Eddie Hall with a bit more momentum if he really wanted to push it. I think Thor didn't want to really risk it. But, again, not to say, Eddie Hall took some massive shots and got up every time. And both men, again, great conditioning. Both men, great. Eddie Hall kept coming forward. Eddie Hall didn't get discouraged and think, well, I've been put down, let me just try and suck this guy off like Lawrence Coley and just start hugging him all night. No, he said, you know what, let me see if I can find a way to win. So these men really have proven they are true athletes. Yeah, true. No, it was amazing to see. Think of all the crap fights we see in boxing. And I'm not saying was it technically the best? No, but they actually had a boxing fight. Do you understand? They actually threw hands. All we saw tonight was people throwing hands. And they were looking at the size of them. it was a marvel for me. But again, I think Eddie Hall would have learned a lot from taking a few warm-up fights. Now, his whole shtick was, well, I'm going to get the element of surprise. Now, initially, he actually scored his knockdown at the start, I believe, because he came out southpaw and he popped the guy. I'm not sure what hand he popped him with, but either way, he ended up scoring a knockdown. So it kind of that had some effect, but I think Eddie would have gained more experience being in the ring on a fight night. Thor had 3 or 4 fights. That experience is invaluable. Not only because of the keeping calm and whatnot. Now, Eddie Hall's swagger was on point. He wasn't stressed or not calm. But I'm little things like there were certain times I think Eddie Hall needed to, maybe especially in the last 2 rounds, get both his hands up and just start walking forward. Because them heavy shots he was throwing, a lot of the time, them shots, when he was just throwing the big swingers, they weren't dangerous. As in, they weren't in range. They was almost fronting. I felt like Eddie Hall was almost 90% of the shots he threw were just shots to say, don't come close. Yeah, to warn Thor, not to just walk in reckless. That's what they did. Very few of the shots Eddie Hall threw actually had a chance of landing. Unless Thor came running in. So I think, yeah, the low hand stuff, yeah, giving different looks is good, but I think Eddie Hall would have learned, if Eddie Hall had had a few fights beforehand, he'd have learned that, you know what, sometimes I'm going to need to get both hands up and just start walking forward. Because Thor, it's not like, Thor wasn't making it ugly. As in, he wasn't clinching all night. Which means, that would have, let's assume Thor carried on not clinching. What would have happened if Eddie Hall had put both guards up, walked forward, taken a few of them shots on the gloves and arms, and then started letting some of them big heavy shots off in range? Do you understand? If you watch it back, all the big shots Eddie Hall threw, they was not in range. If he'd got in range with a tight guard, with his chin down, got in range, backed Thor up to the ropes, and then let one of them off, even if it hit the arms or the gloves, there's an argument that would have been armor. There's an argument them shots would have been armor piercing. Do you know what I'm saying? Cut straight through the guard. Well, at least because most people don't appreciate who haven't boxed. Even when you got your guard up, when you've got a heavy puncher hitting you, it comes through the guard. Even if you catch it clean, so if someone licks off, you know what I'm saying, you can feel it. It's still the vibration, that energy passes through your gloves and into your head. So that would have been a lot more effective, and I think he'd have picked it up. The problem was he had too much confidence in his training setup. He was too comfortable, and that's why he didn't really have many more ideas. Apart from the little bit of bum rushing he did do, there wasn't much effective strategy there to actually get the win. It was more, Eddie Hall was more capitalising on a few mistakes Thor made, rather than having a strategy to actually out and out win. Yeah, elbows in, chin down for the smaller man. People say, YB, you always say that. Yeah, when you're the smaller man, that's just what you got to do, I'm afraid. I mean, give me an example. Tell me a smaller fighter you've seen pull it off with low hands and trying to be slick. It just doesn't. The odds don't work like that. You're at a massive disadvantage the whole way through. When you're the smaller man, especially when it's by 3 or 4 or 5 inches, it's one of them ones. You've just got to get your hands up, Mike Tyson style. And I think that would have added huge game. Because the thing is, from what I've seen from Thor, the times he looks bad is when he's under pressure. But Eddie Hall didn't really do that tonight. Yeah, he didn't put Thor under any pressure. Any punch pressure. Imagine if Eddie had got him back to the ropes and got a few shots off. You just don't know. And I think that's what Eddie Hall will be kicking himself, to be quite honest with you. Now, Thor fought the fight I thought he was going to fight, and I was shocked. Thor was 9-1 to win on points. 9-1 against to win on points. Whatever that means. Basically, you put £100 down, you get 900 back. I thought that's ridiculous. And that's the one I went for. Oops. Yeah, I don't know what all these casual fandons were gassed. Eddie Hall, there was a 50% chance. Well, basically, if you put £100 on, you was only getting double your money. Well, yeah, you was only making £100 profit. If you put 100 on, you got total 200 back, so 100 profit from Eddie Hall scoring a KO. which shows you the casuals were gassed. There was casuals were gassed off the power thing and whatever else. And one thing I will say, I've given these dons a lot of credit, but Eddie Hall, he did a lot of woofing. Now again, you've heard the credit I've given, but I do think he didn't commit as much as his woofing implied. If you get what I'm saying, I think he could have pushed forward a bit more. But again, the problem was when you got that low hand. At one point during the fight, I think it was the 5th or 6th round, Eddie started coming in. He was almost half squatting, he was almost half bent at the waist and pulling back and trying to edge forward. That's what someone does when they're trying to get something for nothing, is what I call it. Yeah, Eddie Hall was trying to inch closer without being in range, but get your hands up and assume and try and parry the shot, see it cut. And Thor's not the quickest guy, so if you'd have trained catching and parrying, it's not perfect, but that's what you got to do. Look at Canelo. Canelo fights people bigger his whole career. Yes, he can drop his hands when he wants to be cute, but 90% of the time, he got his hands up and he walking forward. Oops, yeah, and that's just what it is. You can't read. These are the things. Boxing's 100 years old now. Give me an example of some small guy who constantly is able to out-slick a taller guy. You just don't really see it. It's one of them ones, and it's a shame really that Eddie Hall wasn't given these tools or trained these tools. It's pretty basic stuff, yeah. If you're a noticeably smaller man, your hands have got to be up at least some of the time. Eddie Hall didn't have his hands up once, and the thing is, Eddie Hall's got a massive thick neck, massive thick body. If he'd have got them elbows in, it's a bit like Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is nowhere near as dense and as thick as Eddie Hall, but when Andy Ruiz has his chin down and his hands up, there's not much to hit. Do you understand? There's not much there to hit because it's almost, and Eddie Hall's even thicker. So if he'd have got them that guard up, he'd have been like almost like a tank walking forward. And then once you've backed Thor to the ropes, let some of them big shots off wherever they landed, body, arm, guard. He gonna know about it. Instead, it was all wasted. But the winner tonight, Thor, again, he did what he was supposed to do. He went in there. I mean, he looked the best I'd seen him look. And I think that probably, well, I'm not sure. Eddie Hall's feet weren't slow, but I don't know what to say. Both men really did fight a great boxing performance. Yeah, for people who are pretty much new to this game, they put a lot of boxers to shame. That's a fact. I can't remember the last boxing fight I saw where there was no clinching. And that's how the sport's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be clinching every 5 minutes. What's that about? It's weird. I don't know, it's weird. It's like, oh, I'm a boxer, but I'm going to be wrestler. Yeah? These guys didn't clinch once, and they should be, well, they are. In my opinion, they're held in very high esteem. Now, maybe it's because they didn't know about it, but either way, whatever way it was, they did what they're supposed to do. They came in and they boxed for 6 rounds, 6 3-minute rounds. And the whole way through, yeah, they weren't the most punch output, but they was just grinding out the rounds. So really, I felt it was really entertaining. I think I did get kind of lucky, ain't gonna lie to you, with the whole going the distance. It could have easily, I didn't realise how close it really was. Because if Thor had caught Eddie a few more times, who knows? There were some heavy shots. And Eddie was really, it shows his resolve to get up for them shots. How many boxers have we seen get hit in the cell on the floor? Yeah? How many times? I mean, we saw AJ against Ruiz get hit a few times. He didn't want no more, did he? Oops. Yeah? AJ got hit a few times and didn't want no more. Didn't want to be there. Yeah? He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight through. He wanted a way out. That's a fact. AJ wanted a way out against Mr. Blobby. Eddie Hall carried on fighting. So yeah, I hope both of these men, their beef was a bit bitter and whatnot. The better man has won tonight. Although I do actually think, there is an argument for a rematch. Not because obviously Thor won, but it was a good show. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch. I wouldn't mind seeing in a year or two from now these dons rematching. Because why not? Yeah. Now, have they got a space in the sport in the future? No, there's not. They ain't got them kind of. They ain't got the speed. But between these two cats, or maybe they could even make a Superman or a world weightlifting one. Do you know what I mean? No one of them ones. A powerlifting boxing tournament thing. That would be interesting. Because boxing right now is dead. That's a fact. I'm trying to think. Tell me the last good heavyweight fight you watched. There's a bunch of flappers. I mean, we saw 3 knockdowns tonight. And how many knockdowns? You don't see no knockdowns. AJ versus Usyk, Borefest. Lawrence Hug Coley, Borefest. Whoever Borefest we got. Yeah, Fury and Wilder, that was a good one. Wilder was gassed after 4 rounds. I'm not even sure it's a juice, you know. I'm not even sure a juice can get you that fit. Because from what I understand, Lance Armstrong, he was fit anyway. Yeah? When Lance Armstrong was EPO'd out of his mind, he was still super fit. EPO was just what took, like, Lance Armstrong could do the Tour de France and come 20th with no EPO. Yeah? EPO was the difference between 20th and first. It wasn't the difference between can't ride 20 miles and number 1. Do you understand? Which tells me that these guys must have had some serious conditioning. Because they were likely EPO'd out of their mind, but still, the EPO gives you the finishing touches. It elevates your performance. But these guys, I mean, we've seen UFC fighters who were juiced. They run out of gas after a few rounds as well. So, given the size of these man, I don't know what they was doing in training, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed at how calm they were as well, both of them. I mean, look at AJ. AJ went in there. I don't care how much EPO these men may have been on yet, but AJ went in there with Pulev, an old-ass man, where he had all the advantages. He was the athlete, he the younger guy, he meant to be the super athlete, bulbous dude, Promethean goo looking ass, yeah? And he went in there with Pulev, did nothing for 2 rounds, had 30-40 seconds of a burst, and was gassed for 7 rounds. What the fuck? And I've been saying this for years. What's he doing in training? Oops. Oh, YB, what you talking about? AJ's a millionaire. AJ's got 3 belts. Yeah, YB, what you don't know what you're talking about. AJ's at this special gym in Sheffield. Oops. Yeah? You got these big bodybuilders, actual bodybuilding weightlifters, Eddie Hall was pumping weights heavy a week ago. And he had 6 full tanks of gas, and he gets knocked down 3 times. Do you know how much gas it takes out of your tank when you get put down? Do you know how much gas it takes out of your tank when you've been loading up and throwing? I'm thinking, what the fuck was AJ doing? No gas having arse after 1 round. It's embarrassing. The sport of boxing's a joke, and this for me says it all. I've seen it all now. The fact these cats can come in out of nowhere and put on as good a show as any other boxing show, if not better. This was better than Coley in his last fight. Oops. Yeah? No doubt about that. This was better than Coley's last fight. Facts. This was better than AJ's last fight as well. Oops. Yeah? People need to fix up. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that actual weightlifters, actual powerlifters are showing up. People who have been doing this for 20 years. Oh, but AJ is still learning. Learning? These weightlifters are putting you man to shame. Facts. Yeah? They have a full tank of gas. They ain't cacking their pants after getting knocked down. You didn't see Eddie Hall, yeah, get clipped once and his ass start flapping, did you, AJ? Oops, yeah? You big flapping ass. I mean, Boogaloo the bear. Yeah? You big fluffy belly looking ass. You didn't, did you? AJ's in there, wait a minute. AJ's in there with a middleweight, Usyk, and his ass was flapping the whole night. Meanwhile, Eddie Hall in there with some big dude who had all the advantages, and he get knocked down, get up, go straight back to it, edging forward. It's an embarrassment. And these men need to fix up. There's a whole bunch. I've got some more videos coming soon. Boxing's full of zest at the moment. I'm not sure where it's coming from. It's weird. There's a whole bunch of zesty characters in the sport. I'm sure it's some sort of agenda that's coming. You got this cat called Fraser Clark throwing it back, goofy ass looking ass. Yeah, trust me, he getting it next week. There's a whole bunch of zesties in this game right now, no doubt about it. But Eddie Hall, Thor, both can hold their heads high. The best man won. I wouldn't be mad to see it happen again, no doubt.